Hey guys, welcome to episode 11 of Lighthouse Wisdom, and today I'm going to be sharing about reversing self-condemnation. And essentially self-condemnation is when we are our own worst enemy, essentially when we constantly judge ourselves, constantly gives ourselves a hard time, and it's really coming from that ego personality voice that tends to always beat us up and is that inner critic. And always, it's really about self-worth essentially, and really valuing our self-worth and realizing that anything that happens in life, it doesn't matter what happens. There is really no failure, by the way, only feedback to learning. So in that case, based on the fact that failure is feedback for learning, our self-worth is never determined by anything that happens to us, even though, we might have that voice that tells us otherwise. So essentially, giving up guilt, giving up shame, realizing really guilt doesn't exist, or shame, or any of these negative emotions. And self-condemnation is really valuing who you are as a unique human being. There is no one like you on the planet. There's nothing outside of self. You're a divinely human being, but you got your feet in two camps. We've got our feet firmly planted here on earth, but where we really reside, is we're a spirit. So divinely we have our foot in that camp as well. So essentially, never forget our divine nature, and fully feel our circumstances and whatever goes on in this earthly realm, learn from them, but also perceive it from a higher perspective as well. Don't get stuck in our circumstances, don't be defined by them, don't be a victim of our circumstances, because if we can take a wider view, we can see that we're unique and we're divine as well, and that's who we really are. And treat everything, like I said in one of the episodes earlier in Lighthouse Wisdom, treat everything from the fourth dimension, so we're not taking this third dimension so seriously. So our self-worth is really something you want to look at, and really look at ways that you give yourself a hard time, and journaling is really good. I know episode 1 of Lighthouse Wisdom we talked about the miracle journal, but if you want to take another method of journaling, you can journal your thoughts and feelings out and see where you're getting stuck, where you're beating yourself up, where these negative thought patterns are, so that we can start reversing those thought patterns and realizing the untruth of this inner critic that always condemns. Because God, higher self, universe is never condemning us. We're the ones condemning ourselves. And it was really released a lot of burden from me when I stopped condemning myself and realizing there is no higher power or God that's judging me or punishing me, or because it really comes from that feeling that we ought to be punished for who we are because of our wrongdoings. When we get that cleared, and by the way, the Course in Miracles is my go-to book, which I will refer to a lot more in Lighthouse Wisdom, because it really is my go-to book, because it helps to alleviate a lot of these thought patterns that aren't true, and it really helps to undo that egoic part of our mind, that insane part of our mind that constantly bombards us with all these threats and things that condemning thoughts, etc. So affirmations, which the course is built on, particularly the workbook of 365 days of affirmations, helps to undo this linear feeling of linear space-time that we're a part of. It helps to undo that, to realize that a lot of our thoughts do not mean anything. That's one of the lessons actually in the course. So this condemning stuff, once we release that and realize that it doesn't really have a foundation, we can really lift that burden of the unreality of this self-condemnation, because a lot of the negative emotions of guilt, shame, feelings of unworthiness, feelings of not enough, not doing enough, whatever it may be, comes from this self-condemnation of the ego, whose motto statement is seek and do not find. So it's never really satisfied, it's insatiable. Even when you do get what you want, it's looking for more. So realize it's really helping to alleviate that part of our mind, and discerning the other part, which is a quiet, still voice that's always hopeful, encouraging, and in order to really listen to that voice, we need to meditate, get quiet, and practice on a daily basis to help refine our thought processes, because you know, our inner reality, our inward condition, our outward picture is a reflection of our inward conditions. So you know, the more we work on ourselves here, our outward picture will reflect that. So remember, it always comes from within. Work on within, you know, work on yourself first, and then your external picture will change. It's not the other way around. So essentially, work on this condemnation thing, because you know, it could be a critical parent when you're growing up as well that you might still be hearing. You know, a lot of this stuff doesn't even come from you. So that's why journaling is a really good way of sort of getting it all out, getting the thoughts, feelings, etc. out, and then just having a laugh at it. You know, being humorous about it, have a laugh at it. You know, take a step back, have a look at it from the fourth dimension, and realise that you don't have to take it so seriously. It's really important to express all this stuff, get all these feelings out. I did a Lighthouse Wisdom episode on expressing yourself, and it's important we get it out on some way, shape or form, whether it's through journaling or speaking or whatever, helping people, whatever it is, getting it all off your heart, so that we realise that a lot of the stuff that we're thinking is not true, and we want to focus on what is true. So that's episode 11. Yeah, reversing self-condemnation. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in episode 12 of Lighthouse Wisdom. Johnny Carter here for Lighthouse Wisdom. Bye for now.